Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today spends his days turning noise into signal. Tommy Cotter is head of product at Benzinga, where he builds the data engines behind financial news millions of us read. The systems that answer, why the heck is the stock market doing what it's doing today, down to micro movements of individual stocks. The instant it happens, they are on top of it. He's a mechanical engineer who walked away from the auto industry to reshape how markets get their information. There's so much to dive into. Tommy, welcome to Fulfillment Project.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Glad to be here.
I'm so stoked to have you, man. And everyone, before you go any further, please subscribe, like, share this episode with a friend. You know, we've been at it for over a year now, tens of thousands of listens a month. And the way we keep growing is by people that listen sharing with their friends, families, coworkers, and all that. So if anything's relevant today for you, text it to a friend, please, and thank you. So, Tommy, baby, let's go. You trained as a mechanical engineer and started out in the auto industry, Stellantis, Chrysler, which everyone in my hometown of Dearborn, Michigan, home of Ford Motor Company, everyone knows Stellantis. Walk me back to the moment you decided that wasn't the life you wanted. What were you actually walking away from?
Yeah, so I took a super unconventional path to get where I am today. Obviously, coming through auto and studying engineering and then ending up in fintech. A little unconventional, but I learned a ton along the way. Yeah, so when I was in college at OU, I was studying mechanical engineering. A lot of the students there, it's an engineering heavy school, and as you know, being from Dearborn and Southeast Michigan, when you're in school at a university in Southeast Michigan, what most graduates do when they graduate is they go right down the street and they work at one of the big three, Ford, GM, Stellantis. And so that's what I did naturally. And I worked in a manufacturing plant for Fiat Chrysler. And it was fascinating to see how these plants work. I mean, the assembly line is miles long. It's running all day, every day.
All night too?
All night. They have a third shift that comes in and they run it through the night. They're pumping out hundreds of vehicles a day, or a shift rather, probably over 1,000 per day. And it was really intense. I learned a ton, and I realized that I didn't want to be working in a factory for the rest of my life. And so I pivoted to fintech. And that happened in 2020 when everybody was in the markets and everybody was a trader and investor.
So you just glossed over something I want to dig into. You didn't want to work in a factory for the rest of your life. What does that mean? Why not?
I mean, the factory lifestyle, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's intense. Like that line needs to keep running, and um, the company does not care about the employees really that are keeping it running, and so there's a lot of work on the weekends and in the evenings, and it's a high pressure environment, and I just realized that type of life wasn't for me.
So your job was to keep the line running. You probably had a section of the line or certain responsibilities. And when that part needed fixed, that's you, no matter the hour.
Yeah, exactly. I was very close with the body shop management team. And so when these trucks were getting put together, all of the metal that goes into the body of the vehicle, that was kind of our responsibility. And so I was grateful to be so close to the management team, but it was high pressure, high stakes.
I'm shocked to hear that they still put metal in cars today. I thought it would have all been some sort of plastic.
Yeah, yeah, the EVification of everything.
So I want to move on, but I just got to dig one layer deeper, Tommy. Put me in your shoes the day that you realized you're leaving. Was there a moment?
It was a slow growth type thing, where I realized that I was more interested in finance and fintech and building wealth. So there wasn't one particular moment. It happened over time, but when I got the opportunity at Benzinga, I was all over it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So it sounds like a slow erosion over time. And what I love for people listening is a lot of people are in something that, and I certainly was. I had, two different, totally different careers before the one I'm in now. And just because you're in something doesn't mean you have to be there forever. Learn everything you can, be the best version of yourself while you're there, whatever that means to your day to day life. Embrace the suffering, don't shy away from it. And then an opportunity will come. You seek out opportunities and one will open up. So, what made Benzinga? Were you applying for jobs? How were you looking around?
I was loosely looking around, and the genesis of me landing at Benzinga was kind of miraculous, I'd say. I was I was at a backyard barbecue, and I met uh, one of my colleagues, Andrew Lebos, who works at Benzinga, and and he was looking for a project manager, kind of a product focused person, and so we were talking, and I told him, hey, I'm interested in this market. I think what you guys do is fascinating, and he's like, hey, well, we're looking for a candidate. I'll shoot you over some info, and so we exchanged emails, and the rest is history.
What'd your parents think? What'd your family and mentors think? Did they think you're crazy? You go to college for engineering and now you're leaving to do some fintech thing?
I mean, my parents, they said go for it. I was 24, had nothing to lose. They said go for it.
Oh, Charlie Munger always said, if you're going to lose everything, do it before you're 40. So you can still make a couple more jumps and still lose everything a couple times over, Tommy. I
But yeah,
love that.
yeah,
Nothing to lose. It did it ever feel like the world might end? Like, was there ever any high emotions?
yeah. I took a massive pay cut to come to Benzinga, by the way, but it didn't matter to me. I was in it for the long haul. Wanted to be in the industry. Wanted to be involved. I didn't care how it was going to happen. But it was. I was concerned a little. I was skeptical at the start.
How cool, exciting, but a little apprehensive. Like, there's no sure things in life, man. There's no sure things in life. You got to take risk, and we'll see if it was worth it.
Yeah, that's what I was telling myself.
So, your work at Benzinga tries to answer why is this or that stock moving in real time, but markets move on stories that tell themselves. How confident can you ever really be, Tommy, that you found the real reason and not just a convincing reason for a stock moving?
Yeah, so at Benzinga, for those unfamiliar with Benzinga, we're a financial media company. We we write these stock market news. We cover all of the U.S. markets, and we're expanding globally as well. Our editorial team is very good at cutting through the noise and looking at all different sources of information. We look at the SEC corpus of filings, we look at press releases, all of these things happening on X. We do exclusive CEO interviews. Um, and so we have all of that information at our disposal. And whenever there's movement in the markets, the Benzinga news team does a great job at breaking down what happened, why it matters, and what happens next. Those are kind of the three main pillars for an article, and um, we always try to find an objective reason for movement. And if there are other speculative, subjective reasons, we always break that down a bit further. Like, hey, XYZ is also happening. This could be contributing to the move as well.
Got it. So speed versus accuracy. You guys are in the media biz, so speed is important. You got to crack the whip. That X post goes out. You guys are responding to it. How do you guys balance speed versus accuracy?
We do that in kind of a simple. Well, I guess it's simple, but we have two main news types. Okay. We've got our newswire headlines, which is just a headline. And a lot of day traders or people who are actively trading, um, they're consuming those newswire headlines. And that headline can be as simple as, hey, Elon Musk just tweeted this announcement about SpaceX. It breaks it down into a simple, digestible, you get an idea of what's happening within one sentence. And then if there are items that deserve more coverage, they deserve more editorial analysis on top, then we will go and we'll create a long form post on that particular item. So um, SpaceX announced its IPO through an S1 filing. Like, we're going to cover that in a long form post, and for that example, many long form posts.
Yeah.
But but for the speed aspect, we put out a quick headline, and traders, they consume that information.
You buying SpaceX IPO?
I think I have to. I don't know how much I'll buy, but I'll definitely be in there a little bit.
Dip your toe in for the excitement, the thrill of it.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever got it wrong?
Yes. I mean, any news organization makes mistakes, right? Um, and we always issue corrections. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
Have you ever done it when there was like a big cost associated where you had to pay a price or people had to pay the price?
I don't know if it's been to that extent, but we have made typos. There have been missed reports of earnings, things of that nature. It happens in any news organization, and obviously we make the corrections and try to rectify things as much as we can.
Right on. Okay, humans versus AI. Everyone's talking AI, right? It's emotional, which is why I bring it up, and it comes up almost in every episode. And I was trying to avoid it on the podcast at first because it seems like, oh, everyone's talking AI. But it's like AI is invading everything. And you guys build systems that feed AI engines like Perplexity. You're literally handing the markets to the machines. Are you guys building something that makes your own colleagues, the analysts and writers, maybe unnecessary in the future?
I think that where AI lacks is obviously having a full picture and having the full context of everything that's happening. Um, Eventually, maybe we'll get there to where these context windows can just be ballooned to encompass, terabytes of information. Um, I think that may be a few years now. But I can't say that it won't happen. We ingest a lot of data, we draw a lot of conclusions, and that human touch and that human discernment is still extremely important.
Yeah, the human touch, I just haven't found any. It's incredible from 2 years ago to today how much better it's gotten. But like on any LinkedIn feed, any news article, you can almost for sure spot when AI is involved. Like anytime I read the word quietly, this quietly happened. It's like, Okay, come on, AI. The M dashes are prevalent. There are so many tells. And like you said, the full perspective, it's very, very smart. But I don't know if AI is as good as humans yet at connecting the dots. What do you think about the connecting the dots space?
Yeah, I mean, connecting the dots is is everything. So I wouldn't want to trust an agent um, to make my decisions for me. I always want a human opinion, and it's kind of interesting. There's a few brokerage platforms that are launching agentic trading, where an agent can go out and trade with my money. And I don't know if I fully trust it yet. I I want to have a human who can reason with everything that's presented to them and be able to tell me if something is important or not important. And I definitely do not want to lean on AI solely.
Jensen Huang, my boy from NVIDIA, he said he wants his engineers spending zero time on engineering. And I know you guys have engaged with that idea publicly. Does that future excite you? How does it make you feel?
Wait, what do you think he means by that? Spend zero time on engineering.
If I said engineering, I meant coding.
Gotcha. Okay. Zero time on coding. Yeah, that makes sense. We we've obviously leaned on the AI coding tools heavily, like a lot of people have. Um, I think vibe coding has been a game changer, and all of our engineers are doing it. Yeah, I think that coding specifically will be entirely AI in a matter of years. And now I think for engineers, building these systems and complex architectures that they take data from one spot and move it to another. And uh, we have all these modular UIs that are being created now, and MCPs are a huge topic as well. I think that
What's an
have
MCP?
a model context protocol. So um, basically, an MCP server is a way to provide an LLM with access to any data from any platform. So, for example, the Benzinga MCP would, if you wanted to ask your LLM in Claude a question about the news, Benzinga MCP server could easily deliver that information. Um, so yeah, I think engineers in the future, if they can have,
Sorry, Tommy.
yeah,
So are those the pools of info that AI goes to first to gather information? I ask about Apple stock today. Does it have some first pools instead of going out and fishing in the wide internet? Does it go to MCPs first to gather that data?
yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly how it works under the hood. I do think that it the LLM has these master lists where it has kind of it'll go in a certain direction to get information. So it knows that the Benzinga news MCP is anything related to financial news. So when it goes to fetch information, it will use that tool um, first in the priority list.
Got it. Interesting. So engineers now, they're vibe coding, they're moving things, kind of putting the puzzle pieces together that AI has created. But where I'm wondering if you're going to go is in the future, AI will be able to connect those puzzle pieces itself, and engineers will be removed from the equation.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. I mean, engineers will, I think one skill that's irreplaceable is deciding what to build, and how to build it, and using best judgment there. Anybody can vibe code tool that nobody wants. I think if an engineer it has the ability to decide what is important, um, and then going down that direction, that will always be valuable.
Yo, producer Rick, give us a little breakdown, give us a little rap, a couple lines, and include vibe code in there. It's something about vibe code. And Ricky, go, baby.
Well, vibe coding, ideas are loading. Telling AI in plain English, I ain't trolling. I'm trying to get more time to vibe, so I'm gonna make this AI agent do all the boring shit. Give you 8 bars, don't got 8 cars, but my truck will drive really, really far. If I could drop a vibe in this mode, I could generate a code to never ever go broke.
All right, we're back. I can't wait to see what Ricky produces there. My producer, Ricky, jumps in every now and again. I love him. He's my best friend, and I like to get him involved. He looks at all this stuff after the fact, and just fun to mix it in a little bit. So I'm a big fan of AI, huge. And when I ask like, oh, will engineers be removed? I'm not asking it like that. What I'm thinking more along the lines of, Tommy, is like, what jobs do you foresee that will be created that don't currently exist because of AI? Like, will engineers be repurposed? Will the developers that are coding be repurposed? Do you see, like, in your line of vision, something that could happen with these people that they're not currently working on but could be working on?
Yeah, I think it's already happening. Engineers are steering these AI agents to do work for them. It's definitely already happening. But being able to solve problems, I don't think that'll go away. There's so many problems out there that can be solved, or systems that can be improved or enhanced. And being able to connect with people to understand the problem and focus on the solution is always going to be important. And of course, AI will play a bigger role in that. But that's just the work about work. It's not deciding what to work on.
You said something a minute ago that is still sitting with me, which is knowing what to create is really hard. And like, you give AI a task, it'll do tasks all day, it'll write the code, but like, what are we coding today? To me, it feels like critical thinking is going to take a front seat in every job more than it ever has, because everyone essentially has a team of slaves working for them that are way smarter than them at calculating anything. And so, but what do we put them to work on? When you can do anything, what do you do?
Yeah, the world is everyone's oyster at this point. I mean, you said it at the beginning. You can tell when there's AI slop out there, and I've been working on a few projects where people are sending me these AI summaries, and I can tell it's just copied and pasted from Claude, and it's just a verbose summary straight from Claude. And I'm like, hey, can we condense this a bit? Can we kind of remove some of the noise here? And so I don't know, maybe that's just my preference is for concise answers, but yeah.
I'm just sitting with that for a second. Concise answers. I agree with you. I like my information bullet pointed. I like main bullet points, sub bullet points that explain the main bullet point, so on and so forth. I don't want paragraphs. Paragraphs are like, I can reference the recording if I need to get the nuance there.
Agreed.
So, Tommy, this is wild. Your mission language is about leveling the playing field for the everyday investor, but every edge you hand to retail, the institutions get too, but probably a little faster. Do you think you guys are leveling the playing field, or do you think you're just speeding up the whole process in general for everybody?
I think we are leveling the playing field. Historically, there's been a ton of data and information that retail didn't really have access to. And I know that it's a bit cliche to talk about democratizing something. Um, everyone and their mother is democratizing something, as in the startup world at least. Um, but I do think that, for example, sell side analyst ratings. Historically, only the institutions had access to
What
these.
even is that? I don't know what that is.
A sell side analyst rating is basically a stock rating that is created via extensive research that is paid for by a research firm, like TD Cohen, Barclays, JP Morgan. These big banks will research these stocks, create a research report, and assign a buy, hold, sell rating to these companies with a price target. And historically, all of that information was only available to retail or to institutional investors, these big businesses that were willing to partner with these sell side firms. And one of the things that we've focused on is making sure that the retail investors have access to all of that information. And so I think nowadays, information is widely available. People are engaging in prediction markets where they're betting on the certain outcomes of things based on everything that they have at their disposal. And so times are changing, and
Do you guys
and
play in the prediction market game at all?
we do. We've just started. We're covering prediction markets and writing content about it.
Maybe I'm out of the loop. Is there a big market of people buying individual stocks where Joe Schmo on the street is just like looking up the freaking price for the buy, sell, hold to figure out if he should hold an individual stock or sell it? Isn't everyone in mutual funds?
Yes, I will say so, but some of these funds can be based on can be based on analyst ratings and things like that. I would say that more so, like wealth managers and people who may be managing someone else's money are regarding those research reports as gold. Even though I don't really pay them much mind. I think some of these research analysts don't really know what the outcome of the stock is going to be, and a lot of times they're wrong. We have a product at Benzinga called the Analyst Success Score. So we track all of their success scores, and it's not great.
Yeah. So, like, we all know that. I feel like the market knows that you can't pick and choose a stock. Like, I have a portfolio of individual stocks that I like. I buy Sonos because I love Sonos speakers. And if I'm going to have them in my house, I want to own part of the company. But it's like, don't we know you can't time the market? Don't we know you can't pick and choose?
I don't think everyone knows that, and everybody's in a race to beat the S&P, and it's so hard to do.
Yeah, and it's even harder to do twice, and it's impossible to do 3 times unless you're like a handful of people throughout history, and maybe they got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, people love picking their own stocks. They love the autonomy of it. I hope that Sonos does well for you personally. I'm more of a Bose guy myself. I do wish that Sonos would improve their app experience. I think that was one thing that
Brother, don't get me started on the Sonos app crash a couple years ago. I almost threw them all away, man. Never more frustrating. But does Bose, okay, quick tangent. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Google Sonos and we'll see if Bose is worth looking into after this conversation. Do they have Wi-Fi connectivity around your house? Do they have individual speakers that you can place in separate rooms and move around and adjust as you need?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it that far. I will say that Bose has great connectivity where you can have multiple speakers connected to one another. So you can play the same song on one Bose speaker as you are from another one, which is
Yeah.
pretty nice.
It's so nice. To me, that's what makes Sonos special is you can have different music playing in different rooms, all the music playing in one room. You can have it outside, inside, mix and match. The app debacle was crazy. The user experience, the UX took a deep dive, and it was a great time to buy because, wow, that was tough.
Such an easy thing to solve too. I can't believe that they wouldn't invest in that.
But they're back. In my opinion, they're back. It was bad for a couple months. Well, okay, it was bad for almost a year, but they're back now. I'm
That's
happy
good.
I held on to them and didn't throw away my system.
Diamond hands.
So personal finance. I'm talking to my buddy Colin Stroud the other day. He's got a nice following on Substack about personal finance. Tommy, do you have any thoughts, opinions on debt?
I do think that debt. I'm a fan of debt. I think that leverage can obviously be helpful. Debt can also be extremely detrimental if you mismanage it. I think it's all about managing risk and how much debt you take on to, for example, buy something through margin. You want to make sure that the underlying asset that you're buying is going to be able to cover your debt and your interest. And so I'm a fan of it. I've been involved in real estate in the past where I've taken on a ton of debt to buy an asset, aka a rental property, and I got out of that game. I realized that real estate was also not for me. You got to buy a great asset in order to make money, and those assets are hard to find. So I prefer to use debt in the margin game and stocks where you can buy an asset like the S&P 500, for example, and leverage your debt that way.
So that was a more complex answer than I was expecting. I was thinking like, on Amazon or any website, you buy now, pay later. So I have opinions on leverage and margin, which is interesting. And they differ from yours. I'm not a big fan because the upside is doubled, but so is the downside. And you can get nailed that way. I guess the way I'd summarize my belief is, and I'm going to paint it very clearly and simply in sand so you can argue with it. I don't like debt for any reason. I don't like margin. I don't like buy now, pay later. I appreciate car and house loans because those are big nuts to crack. And sometimes you just got to pay the bank to get what you need. You need a place to live. You need something to drive. But other than that, I don't know if any debt is justified.
I agree. I mean, I agree in my personal life. I don't really leverage a lot of debt. I'm not going down to Chipotle and putting my burrito on Klarna. I know that some people are, and to each their own. But I've taken more of the Dave Ramsey route myself.
Yeah, I'm a big Dave fan, and it just seems to make sense because my litmus test for life is peace. And when there's debt, there's uncertainty. When there's uncertainty, there's a cloud. When there's a cloud, there's no peace or less peace than I could have. And so to me, it's like, man, what am I trading my peace for? For this pair of pants that I want but can't blow $200 on now. So I'll do 4 monthly installments of $50. Sounds so silly. but
Yeah.
it's like the pearl of great price we're giving away for nothing. I've been tempted to do margin in the past just because when you feel like things are heating up and you only have so much cash on hand, so you want to double down, and margin's the easy. And I held back, and I would have been up had I done it at the time I was thinking about doing it, but I'm happy I didn't, because I could only imagine the restless nights of like, oh man, I hope the market doesn't go down. And it has had several steep sell-offs in that period of time. And it's like, oh, that would have just hurt so bad.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine getting a margin call. I don't even know what I would do. But yeah, debt. If you want peace of mind, debt is not the right thing for you.
Do you know anyone you work with or people you interact with where they're like debt people? They love that game.
I don't think they've ever admitted it, but I don't know if somebody would be super open with that aspect, but I'm sure I've got a handful of colleagues that are leveraging a good amount of debt.
Yeah, man, it makes me feel sick to my stomach. And man, I don't know where to go from here. I'm kind of like trying to think of a solution for them, but it's not for me to give them the solution. I'm going to do a hard pivot unless you have any other thoughts here, Tommy.
No, go for it.
I'm about to land this plane. We're going to bring this full circle, Tommy. Fulfillment Project. Everyone, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do. If any of this is resonating, share it with a friend, a colleague. If you have an idea that your colleague is getting steeped in a little too much debt, they're wearing new clothes too often, you're like, wait a minute, shoot this up to them. They might benefit. It saves you from having to have the hard conversation with them. All right. This show's about fulfillment in work. You build the invisible plumbing that most people never see. Most people will never know your name. That's the way it's intended to be. You're the invisible background machine. Where do you find meaning in that? How do you find meaning in this work at Benzinga?
I find a ton of meaning in knowing that the products that I build get to help millions of users um, have a shot at financial freedom. And I find that incredibly empowering. Uh, in today's economy, it's tough to make it, and um, those who have wealth have it a little bit easier. So I find a lot of fulfillment in that aspect.
What would the engineer that walked out of your Stellantis auto plant think of the work you do now? Was that 3 years ago? How many years ago was that?
That was about 5 years ago now, which is crazy to think. Time flies. Um, I
If
think
that
that
guy could look at you, if he could look at you today, what would he think?
I think he'd be impressed and kind of confused about what I do for work. I don't really know that he had a full grasp on what an API was at the time. So I'm definitely satisfied with where I've come. So
When you're 90 years old, a couple years in the future, and you look back at this chapter of life, what do you think it was for?
that's a good one. I think it is for experimentation and learning a ton. That I've learned so much over the past few years, and I think I want to continue learning for the rest of my life.
Love that. Me too, man. I love learning. It's the whole reason behind this episode. There's no money behind it. All this stuff is bootstrapped just because I love. We would never meet in a million years, Tommy, if it weren't for Fulfillment Project. Learning is one of the joys of life. And there's so many different modes of learning: books, podcasts, audiobooks, magazines, articles, all this news, TV, documentaries. It's incredible the world we live in, where if you turn your mind to it, you can learn in so many unique avenues. People 100 years ago, I think, would be blown away. You were lucky to have a book or a couple.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much information out there, and I will say, hey, maybe we would have met in a million years. Two Michigan natives, maybe we would have bumped into one another in downtown Detroit or something.
You're right. Well, and now we got to bump into each other. I'll make sure it happens.
Agreed.
What's your favorite mode of learning? You love to learn. How do you love to learn?
I'm a hands-on learner. I have to learn by doing. If somebody tells me something, it's not really going to resonate. Um, I've got to be uh, building a product and deploying it to production, or doing something with my hands. I've always been that way. So
Of that. I love that. Tons of young people, even people middle aged and older, are vibe coding. People are getting into it. People are creating. I feel like the boomers were really good at working really, really hard and putting their heads down. And a couple generations go by, and here we are. And I feel like an artistic side of humanity is opening up because we have more time, more resources, and more tools to help us create, and not like the traditional painting, writing, essays sort of way, but in building these digital things. If you could put a billboard up to people that want to create, what would it say?
a billboard length text, I would say, be creative, period. Just give it a shot, right? What's the worst that can happen? You're going to build something, you're going to learn. Try and be creative and build something that the world wants, the world needs.
Tommy, nailed it, man. Where can people find you? They want to learn more. They want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn, Tommy Cotter, in LinkedIn, or X. I think it's Cotter Pin. And you can go to benzinga.com/APIs if you want to learn about what we build.
I can roll. Everyone, thanks for tuning in today. Tommy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.